You've selected a show from the Podcast Jukebox, a DIY podcast network.
It's Will Sean Podcast. The internet cried out for 2 more blowhards, and they courageously answered that call. Armed with the weapon of wit, each week they're joined by guests to discuss movies, television, pop culture, and anything else that's pissing them off. Take it away, boys.
I'm Will Link.
And I'm Sean David.
And this is Will Sean Podcast?
Even if they fire us for doing so. How you doing, Will?
So I never go out to lunch at work because
Right.
I'm cheap, and I'm also trying to I eat terribly enough as it is, so I try to maintain a certain level of weight.
Okay.
But today I was convinced to go out to lunch.
Yeah.
And I ordered a patty melt, and I know you've had this because we had this together one night. You ever eat something and then for the rest of the day you just feel the grease pouring out of your face? That's where I'm at right now. I feel the grease just oozing out of every pore.
But was it worth it?
It was pretty tasty, patty.
All right. But
I'm
yeah.
sure when I'm up at 2 a.m. in the toilet.
Yeah, or with indigestion, just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, what did I do to myself?
Exactly.
This doesn't help because a couple days early I ate a giant Reuben.
Yeah. And that was a big-ass sandwich.
It was a big sandwich.
That was a lot of sandwich. Well, at least you get to sit for 4 hours of German films afterwards.
Yeah. That was something, too. So, what's going on in the world of Will Sean Podcast?
Well, I wanted to let everyone to know that we are now on a podcast network again.
We're
Question mark?
back on a network?
We're affiliated now with Podcast Jukebox, which our friends over at the Off the Cuffs podcast have graciously set up, and so we are, partnered with them now. It's still the same Will Sean podcast. Nothing's going to change, but now we're, hopefully we'll get some cross promotion. So if there's any fans of Off the Cuffs that are listening to us because of that, they're welcome.
I know we have Off the Cuffs listeners.
Okay.
I know that for a fact.
Okay. Who are not the co-hosts of Off the Cuffs.
Yes.
Okay.
However, does Off the Cuffs have Will Sean Podcast listeners?
We don't know. We need to find out. We'll have to reach out to the people.
Yeah.
But if you are a new listener of ours, please feel free to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and give us a star rating and subscribe to us on iTunes, because that's what good podcast listeners do.
Oh, there you go. We're good.
And then in a little sadder news...
This is sad.
Yeah.
Are we going to get into this?
Briefly, I don't know. You were closer with her than...
Yeah, I know. Sadly, somebody in the storytelling world here in Los Angeles...
And a former guest.
And no, she was never on the show.
She was never on the show? Oh, you're right.
She was never on the show.
I was thinking about this.
She never wanted to come on the show because she was very neurotic, and I bugged her to come on, and she never did. But Carolyn Martone passed away. Who was responsible, hosted some of my favorite shows that I ever got to perform in.
Legendary shows.
A legendary show where we were held hostage by the
rambling.
No, what was it? With the headliner. By the headliner for over an hour as she rambled through a story. But Carolyn Martone, I know a lot of people who do listen knew her, and she will be very, very missed. Who is our sponsor this week? It's a hard transition.
James Comey, Private Eye, no investigation too big, no case too small, now taking new clients.
That's a hot take.
But
let me tell you what, by the time this episode's up, it'll be an old take.
Well, we're only bringing you the hottest takes on the day of recording and the warmest reheats on the day of posting.
On the show today, Facebook is investigating crimes. We'll talk about the 3,000 poor assholes whose job this will be. People are making money off of off of the nightmare that is Trump. They got shows, they got funny shows, but we're gonna get into that too. And United Airlines did a bad thing a few weeks ago, but now they've done something even worse. And I'm gonna get into that. I got a bone to pick with them. But first, we are very excited to have with us today a returning champion to the show.
Yeah.
Oscar Sagastume.
Yeah. What's up?
Hello. Welcome back.
Thank you. That was a very hip intro, by the way. Oh, I want to do my deep will link.
Are you gonna?
voice.
Are you going to keep a Will link going? The whole
I'm going to try to do it. I'm not going to. No, I can't. I'm going to hurt myself. Okay.
Oscar, is someone
How did he injure himself? Oh, in a podcast-related injury.
As a fat guy, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I hurt myself reading Reddit the other day. I pulled a hammy reading Reddit, so... You know,
Did you really?
I did. Well, I was just sitting on the couch and I moved my leg and I was like,
Must have been some pretty incendiary threads there.
I think I was reading what is the name of the guy from Tombstone and weird
Sam Elliott.
No, well, yeah, he was in the movie. No, the Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
I was reading through his Ask Me Anything thing. So, and I hurt myself.
Okay.
Big Val Kilmer fan, are you?
No, yes, of course. I mean, who doesn't love Val Kilmer, right?
He's Mad Mardigan.
Iceman.
He was our most middling Batman.
Yeah.
We've already had you on, so we don't need to get your origin story like we always do. We could just get into it with you.
Yeah, you were back last on episode 187.
And this is episode 254, so it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Thanks for taking the time to invite me.
Now,
Souls, excuse me. I'm sorry.
here's the thing. I just mentioned I was once held hostage in a storytelling show by a headliner who spoke for an hour.
I wonder who it is.
You
You don't have to say it.
I won't say it on the podcast. I'll tell you off. And I don't know. This isn't someone who necessarily does a lot of the same shows you and I might do. But you host a lot of shows.
Yes.
I mean, that's your bread and butter. You're a great host.
Yeah. Well, that's how I started, was being an MC for a radio station here in LA. Yeah.
Have you ever been like? Has someone ever held you hostage for that long?
Not an hour. I had a friend. I don't. It's just gonna be. I'm not gonna call any names, but I had a friend come up and was gonna tell a story and wanted to tell a story about their grandmother, and I was like, oh, that's fine. And right before the show, I went to talk to her about it, and she had mentioned that her grandmother had just passed 3 days ago, and I'm like, you probably shouldn't tell the story. And she was like, I don't know. And I could tell she was going through something, and I was like trying to be nice about it because she was a friend, and I'm like, she'll be fine. I'm sure she'll be fine. She wasn't. She was
not fine.
She was fine. She went like for 20, 30 minutes
Of therapy.
But I couldn't light her because it took her a while to get to the part where her grandmother died, and then it felt bad.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
Yes, and it was kind of like the whole. Once she said it, everyone kind of relaxed, but it was rough. I mean,
Everyone, it's a grandmother. Calm down. If this was a mother, I'd get it, but let's not be so precious.
Well, I would have been nice, but I think now if somebody comes up to me and is like, I'm going to tell a story about something that happened 2 days ago, I'm like, don't change your subject to something.
Yeah,
else.
you had no time to take that in and form like how you're going to approach this at that point.
Yeah. I mean, because I teach storytelling, and it's all about, you have to get this like moment. You have to get this like moment. You have to give it a moment,
Right.
Because it's entertainment. Like at the end of the day, what we do is entertainment. Is it therapeutic sometimes? Yes, but it is entertainment. I mean, I was teaching. I used to teach a writing group over at Muse, and we had a guy come in, and he was telling a story about. Okay, these are all people in the community, so I'm not going to name names. But he was talking about having some sort of like mental issue, and you could tell it was really fresh. And as we're sitting there talking, I keep interrupting him, and like the guy that was helping me kind of had this look like, why are you interrupting him? But he couldn't see that he was about to have a breakdown. And so I kept trying to like diffuse it, and he finally got into it. And I told him he had to stop, and he was crying, and afterwards, the guy that was helping me out, he was just like, I didn't even see it. I'm like, well, you could just tell, you could hear it in his voice.
Like, okay, good news, bad news. It's good, very impassioned. Maybe a little less schizophrenia, a little more on the funny.
Yeah. And that's just the thing. Like, I think that's the thing that a lot of, I don't know, maybe it's, I mean, you guys are around. It's like, it's entertainment. Like, we're here,
right?
Entertaining.
Yeah.
And it used to drive me nuts when the stories were too earnest. And not that... It's always, you feel like a dick when you criticize people. Like, no one wants to hear about your dad and cancer. But if you don't, even though something is meaningful to you, you got to still give us a reason to, why is this thing being crafted into a story, into a narrative? What's the purpose here? More than just recounting a sequence of events that happened.
Yeah.
So in teaching storytelling, is that the kind of thing, like you mentioned, and at the end of the day, it is entertainment. Is that something you find yourself having to remind people a lot?
Yeah, because, especially storytelling, it's because people they have something they want to share, and for whatever reason that is.
Yeah.
And, you have to remind them, like, yes, because a lot of times that's people don't want to pay for therapy. They want to get booked on a show. Like, I mean, stand-ups are the same. They're not as bad because their therapy is making fun of it.
Right.
And so not. I mean, if they're funny,
And they're going for the laughs. Where in the storytelling show, there isn't always that imperative to be funny.
yeah, they just want to relay something, and to them, it's like, okay, well, I'm processing this. This is what I think is interesting, but you're not. You can't. You're not. Sometimes it's it's a weird thing, but you have to remind people if you're talking toward people, like podcast or on a mic or something. You have to be entertaining so that people listen to you. It's interesting that, you lost your leg to, diabetes, but if you just keep talking about it, it's really fucking a downer. Like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah. No, definitely.
You're like, listen, Limpy, no one cares.
Yeah.
So, you host a lot of shows.
Yes.
How many shows are you hosting currently?
Oh, right now, well, I just hosted a show over at Flappers last weekend, and I'm just hosting Tales from Tinseltown right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was hosting 5 shows about 3 months ago,
Yeah.
Right, but I was booking and running, and it was 5 shows, and then I'm like, I don't know what my children look like, so I should probably stop.
You love hosting.
Raised by the nut job.
That movie so much.
I mean, now you remember what your children look like.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
How? Let me ask you that. How's the balance of like you're going out, you're hosting? I mean, first of all, you work, then you're pursuing comedy, storytelling, all this stuff. Like, how do you find the balance?
I wasn't. That's kind of why I stopped. I think part of it too is stand-up. I think stand-up and storytelling are very different because, well, they are obviously. In stand-up, you're honing a set. You know what I mean? You're basically telling, you're basically working toward a solid 8 minutes. Always they have a really solid 8 minutes. Obviously, you have more jokes than 8 minutes, but you're always working toward that 8 minutes. And so the more you're up, the better that set gets. You know what I mean? Because you're trying it for new audiences, you have new bits, and there's adding feedback, then there's more jokes, and it's a thing. But in storytelling, there's only a finite amount of stories that you can tell.
Right.
And you can't really tell the same stories over and over again.
Yeah.
So if you're not working toward increasing that library of stories that you're referencing, it becomes a problem. So when you're booked that much, you're basically just telling the same 5 stories.
Well, that's I know I have to go now. My summer's going to be all about, because I was doing different kind of writing for a while. And my summer's all going to be about, like, I got to get some new stories out there, because I hit that kind of a little bit of a wall. I never performed the same story at the same show ever, but
If you go around enough, you would.
If you go around enough, you'll have seen, like, oh, it's that piece,
Yeah.
Which becomes, that's true. Tales from Tinseltown.
Yes, finally.
This is I love this show because, one, you gotta love a show that's people. I mean, we're in LA, so let's have a show where people are talking about those experiences, the weirdly unique professions and lives we live here in Los Angeles, being part of or trying to be part of this. Of Tinseltown. Also, you co-host this with Megan Hayes, and the two of you, I love the two of you together.
Thanks.
You guys are great. You got a great little. You complement each other very well. You're a good yin and yang, like me and Sean.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So you're the Will and Sean of
storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
Megan is.
But which one's the Will? Which one's the Shaw?
Yeah. Well, I'm probably the Will, without the deep, sexy voice.
I think he is the Will.
Megan is amazing to work with. I really enjoy working with her. She's obviously sweet, wonderful, and hilarious. And she's really easy on the eyes. It's just, sorry, that's...
Well, it's true.
It's true. It's true. That's true. I don't. But she's like really great to work with. In fact, like the other day, like I ran all those shows and I was so used to doing everything by myself on my timeline. Just a couple months ago, we're like 2 months into the show run because we just started in January, and she's just like, I can do more, I can help, and like she always is super helpful about. I mean, you guys do this thing, and you guys probably split a lot of work, but she's been like the first producing partner that really kind of steps up. I mean, I used to host a show in Eagle Rock with my best friend Damon, and he was very helpful in booking all that stuff. But I've tried over the years to have other people help me book, and it's just never worked out.
Well, booking is always the nightmare with whatever you're doing. So anytime you could have someone else help you with that, it's a big weight.
Yeah, and she's super obvious. She's sweet. Like the other day, we're like, hey, let's have a sit down meeting and talk about what we're planning on doing because the show's really popular. TalesFromTinseltown.com. The show's really popular, and we're getting a really good crowd, and it's kind of moving a little bit faster than I had anticipated. So she's like, come over and we'll just kind of talk. And so I went over to her house, and she cooked me dinner. She's like, oh, I thought you'd be hungry, and I'm like, marry me.
Now, also, you're at a great venue, 3 Clubs.
Yeah, that place is awesome.
It's this fantastic back room of this bar. It's got a great stage. It's got almost like a speakeasy vibe to that back room.
Yeah.
And I mean, how'd you get this space?
That's all Megan.
Really?
We had talked about different venues, and she had gone to see Linda's show over there.
Hate Date,
which is also a great show. Careful. Linda's show over there, and she's like, and we had talked about maybe that being the venue, and she had went to check it out, and she ended up talking to the people that ran it, and before, within 24 hours, she had gotten us a room and booked us all this stuff and taken care of the contract, and I'm like, that's amazing, thank you.
and it's good that you have kind of a little bit of a boozy room for a show about Hollywood tales, a place because you guys have your own cocktails there too,
right? We have signature cocktails.
Awesome.
Yeah, the Megan is this very cultured kind of old-fashioned drink, and mine is a tequila and a kick in the nuts. So.
Yeah, tequila and horchata.
Yeah, no, it's racist. Okay, but yeah, no, it's I love that place is such a great place to do a show at, And then we have our sound guy, and I'm forgetting his name. He's gonna hate me, who is super supportive. I'm not. You don't hate me, buddy. You're gonna listen to this and you're gonna hate me. I'm really bad with names. Just so you know. I also had an argument with my wife about my son's age, and and I was wrong. So just FYI. But
look, I forget how old I am a lot. I've been at places and they've said, "How old are you?" And I've said completely different ages, and then it's later. I'm like, "What?"
Well, you're just an actress in Hollywood.
Oh, that's true. Because you're always downgrading yourself because you don't want to get in the wrong age bracket, Yeah. And I'm the same way. I think the other day I told 3 people 3 different ages, and I'm like, wait, this person is a government official. I probably shouldn't lie to them.
Yeah.
So you and Megan, you do all this fun banter in between the readers and, or storytellers, performers, whatever, and. Is all that, do you kind of know what you're going to say, or is all that on the fly? Is all that, natural? The chemistry just so... I mean, either way, there's chemistry, but is it, is it something you get up there and you just start doing, or do you kind of talk it out beforehand? I got to know.
No, it's really more natural. I think we will talk about... Her and I will kind of chit-chat about what we want to intro, and during a show, if someone mentions something, I'll lean in, or she'll lean in and be like, okay, well, I was also me, not so Megan doesn't get I was also in a softcore porn movie. I'll talk about that.
Which you talked about when I did your show last month.
Yeah, so because somebody, we can't name, I don't know if you guys, we have talked about it, but the show basically Tales from Tinseltown is we have all these storytellers and acting and industry people come in and tell stories that they wouldn't tell anywhere else, and we don't record anything, and they just, talk about it. I can talk about it because I've told the story a bunch, so I don't mind sharing my secrets.
You want to talk about some of your tales from Tinseltown?
Oh man, I don't. Yeah, I mean, there's that. You got
to come see the show.
You got to come see the show. I mean, I wasn't.
He has to give him a taste.
I'm trying to
sell the sizzle.
I know, but I gave the churn away. But yeah, I was in a softcore, and that story starts like most softcore stories starts. I answered an ad on Craigslist.
You ordered a pizza.
I answered an ad on Craigslist, and while I was, they're like, "Hey, we need a funny guy to walk into a room, have a funny reaction, and leave." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm a funny guy. I can walk into a room, have a funny reaction, and leave." And that was the whole thing. There was no other information of it. And so I submitted, and they reached out to me, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to come down, and we'll pay you $50." And at the time, it was like $50 more than I had get paid to do any other acting. So I'm like, I'm in, and and then the day before, they're like, "Hey, do you mind dressed scummy?" And I'm like, what? Like, dress scummy. I'm like, okay, that's a weird thing, but I'll just get dressed up. And so I drove down there, and it was in the house in the Pacific Palisades. And if you're not familiar with the area, it's a really ritzy.
It's where Spielberg lives.
Yeah, it's a real ritzy area. And the house was in a house. It looked like an office building from the future. It was gorgeous glass and concrete, and it had a huge parking lot. And I remember when they parked, when they parked, and at first they didn't know nobody would tell me what I was supposed to be doing. But when they figured out that I was who I was, like that was a talent, quote unquote,
The scumbags.
yeah, they sort of parked me in a way that I couldn't get out easily, right? But nobody would tell me. Like, you have to wait for the AD. You have to wait for the AD. And I'm sitting around waiting, and all this crew, they're running around, and they've got equipment. They got real equipment. It's not like a crappy. It wasn't a crappy shoot,
right?
And then all of a sudden, I noticed like 3 other guys dressed scummy.
Yeah.
And I walk up to them, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do Craigslist. I'm like, okay, well, do you know? I'm like, no, I don't know. We had no idea what we were going to do, But I mean, they had, it looked like a real thing, so I wasn't too worried about it. And so the AD shows up and says, he's like, okay, guys, we're gonna walk you over to, we're gonna do the scene, but first let's introduce you to the director. And so we walk over and we meet the director, and I never remember his name in this part of the story. Zalman King, that was his name, okay. Zalman King.
Zalman King, that's a hell of a name.
Zalman King, and if you were a teenager in the 90s like I was, and you masturbated to softcore Showtime Cinemax movies, you knew who he was. And
the Schlockmeister.
Yeah, and so he was a softcore porn king, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm into softcore porn, and no one else knew what was going on, and then they start walking us toward the set, and I remember this very clearly. The director's okay, this way to the set, and he turns around and goes, okay, you guys are part of a gangbang, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And then we walk into with the garage where they set up this room, and on the floor there's a mattress with a rubber orange sheet on it and like a fake back with silk on it, and they just basically say that we're part of the scene is this girl is gonna be part of the gangbang, she doesn't want to do it, but you're gonna you're gonna be in the background waiting your turn, and they're like, we need you to stand back there and look thirsty, Well, I think that's not what they use. That's the term.
That wasn't the term.
Good verb. That's the term I use, and I'm freaking out, right? Because my in-laws are really, really conservative Christians, and my mother is judgy, and then the kids, and this was like a real director, so I'm like, this movie's gonna get made, right? Because I had been cut out of I've been in a ton of movies and TV, been cut out of a bunch of stuff, but I'm like, this one's gonna get made, and so we stand there, and I'm standing back there, and then they introduce us to Raul. That's not his name, but that's what I'll call him. Raul was the head gangbanger, the guy that was actually going to be on top of the girl during the scene, and he had a mullet, but like a really shitty mullet. He had like a Fu Manchu mustache. He had a leather jacket, a Metallica shirt, and then a flannel around his waist, right? And he's like, yeah, hi guys, and he's been smoking for years. He's like, yeah, it was gonna be a good scene. We're really about the craft. I'm like, what the hell's going on with this guy? And then the girl comes in, and the girl is naked. Like, she's a gorgeous blonde girl. She's got like these ivy tattoos on her side of her body, and she's like in a silk see-through kimono, but she's naked. I mean, she's naked, and so we like block the scene, and Raul drops his pants and he gets on top of her, and she's like, I can't, this whole thing, which is very, very. Not only, I think being in a gangbang is bad, but being in a gangbang that goes horribly wrong is also bad, maybe worse. And so we're blocking the scene, they're getting the lighting and blah blah blah, and then at some point they're like, Zalman King and the AD start talking and pointing in my direction, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, they're gonna pull me out of this movie. They're gonna pull me out of the scene because of my boyish good looks, right?
Yeah.
And so the AD comes over and says, Oscar, Zalman wants to talk to you. The director wants to talk to you. And I walk over there, and Zalman goes, well, I want to know if for an extra $100 you'll be on top of her instead of Raul. You'll be the lead gangbanger. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, well, it's $100, right? And so they're like, okay, well, we'll drop your pants, right? And, I dropped my pants because there's nothing to be ashamed of. But I dropped my pants, and they changed their mind. Maybe I was too large. I don't know. Also, I might have been the Star Wars underwear I was wearing. Who knows? Maybe they couldn't get the rights for that. But anyway, so they go, never mind. And then,
They just wanted to see your pants on.
Yeah, well, what happens?
They had a bet going, like, can we get all these guys to drop their pants?
Yeah, I'm not shy, so I didn't mind. Yeah. I didn't mind. I would have liked the money. And I digress. But anyway, so, like, we do the scene, and and it was pretty. And for the longest time, there was no ending to that story, because what happened was just maybe a few months after they finished filming the movie, Zalman King passed away. So his last movie, his opus, Oh,
I mean, what a to have been part of it.
Yeah.
What an honor.
But nothing happened, and for the longest time, I didn't have an ending. And then one day, I see it pop up on HBO, right? And so I'm super excited, right? Because it's but it's like it's a 2-hour movie, and I don't know what part of this, I didn't get a script, I didn't get read into the script. I'm like, when am I going to see this? And because it was made because I think I had just been in another movie that never got produced, and I was like so excited about this, and so but it's with 4 kids and a dog, it's hard to
sit down and watch.
Just chill it on the DVR for a while.
Yeah, so I finally get my wife to take the kids out so I could sit and watch a softcore porn movie, which is an interesting conversation to have, by the way. And I sit there and I watch the whole movie, because this, again, 50 movies cut out of everyone. Finally in the movie, got produced, finished, climactic scene, and they fucking cut me out of the goddamn piece of shit porn movie.
They cut you out of softcore porn?
They cut me out of it.
Oh.
I'm so angry.
And if you want to hear more tales like that,
that's a pretty great story. I heard a truncated version of that, so I'm glad I got a little bit more of the details.
A little bit more of the meat.
Yeah. If you come by, I'll tell you about the time I was sued by the Motion Picture Academy.
That's a great story too. But yeah, we should hold that for Tales of Tinseltown. So when is the next Tales from Tinseltown?
It's the last Wednesday of every month. And this month it is, I have it on my phone, but I moved my phone so I didn't want to call, which is the 31st, I think it is.
Yes, last day of the month.
Yeah, last day of the month. Mm-hmm. It's every last Wednesday of every month. Go to talesfromtinseltown.com for more information. We're actually just in the process of finalizing the show for this. We have it booked. We're just sending out the email. Hey, just
can you tell us some people who are going to be on it?
Margot Lightman is going to be on this show.
Oh, okay. She's good.
I believe Linda Bailey Walsh is on that show.
Oh, look at that.
And I can't remember the other people that are on the show off the top of my head.
Look, if you want to go to a great show and an awesome venue and hear more hilarious stories like that, and why wouldn't you? You got to go to Tales from Tinseltown. And if you want to know more about Tales from Tinseltown, you can go to... What is the website?
talesfromtinseltown.com,
which we will have a link to up on our Facebook page. So if you're a good listener to the podcast, you already know all about this. You're already marking your calendar and planning a trip down to Tales from Tinseltown.
Please come. My children need food.
Don't let this man's children starve.
Yes.
Why do you hate children? Why do you hate children and my dog?
And your dog. Don't forget the dog.
Yeah. So, look, if things don't work out in comedy for you, you can always get a job watching violent crimes and possible acts of child pornography for Facebook.
Now, that doesn't sound like a good option.
Now you'd have to move to the Philippines.
Oh, well, there you go.
Facebook is hiring 3,000 people in the Philippines, where people already work for like sub-minimal wage.
You could own people there.
Basically, and I guess they're hiring more people. I guess it's a direct response to that recent video where the guy on the Facebook Live straight up murdered someone.
Did you see it?
I didn't see it.
No.
I didn't watch it. No,
I couldn't either. I couldn't. I watched it for like. I started to watch it.
Whenever there's videos like this, I can't like click on it.
Yeah,
I used to watch those things all the time.
You're a big Faces of Death fan?
No, I used to watch. I guess. Yeah. I was just I'm fascinated by the recording of being able to watch the last moments of somebody. I remember in high school, I saw a picture that they did in World War I. It was just a picture of a guy getting shot. It's real, but like you see him falling back and the dust coming off his jacket, and those cameras were really shitty back then. So to get that shot was amazing, and I remember just being super fascinated by it. And then when the advent of the internet, so many years later, being able to watch videos of people dying it was dark. I mean, I didn't take pleasure out of it, but I just was so fascinated by watching the last moment.
morbid
Honey, I need you to get the 4 kids and the dog out of the house for a little bit.
It was more.
I got to see if I'm in this.
But the last one that I saw was there was this guy. He was in a wheelchair, and it was in China because these are always in China. And he was angry at missing the elevator, so he kept ramming the. Did you see this one?
I've heard about this.
Yeah, he kept ramming the elevator doors, and because it was China, the doors fell, and you just see him slip into the shaft and just die. But that was the last one I saw on purpose. At least that was the last one I saw on purpose.
Going up.
I can't watch. Like, I mean, I guess
even when there's like these murders, even when it's things like cop shootings and things like that, I can't watch those videos.
I mean, I guess I've seen some of stuff like on the news, and then it's like part of me like when it's the cop shooting stuff, then sometimes I'm like, oh well, this is such an injustice, we have to see it. But then it's like I don't want to watch people die. Particularly for sub-minimal wage.
Well, that's true. Did you grow up here in LA?
Yeah.
Do you remember that guy that shot himself on live TV?
Yeah. Pull back. Yeah.
There was a guy here because you grew up you grew up in the East Coast. You're cultured.
Was it a high-speed chase that ended with him on? He was on the overpass the whole time.
Yeah, he was on the overpass. He pulled over, and the cops. He had a gun, and then he put like he said some bank ruined him or something, and. But it happened like at 3:00 when all the kids were at home, and so all the news stations had cut away because everybody wanted to see what was going on. And right there, instead of Thundercats, I saw a guy blow his head off. On TV.
And now that because of that, they changed the policy that whenever a car chase ends, the news choppers have to be zoomed all the way out. When they can't be zoomed in on the action. When they finally when they get the car to stop, they can't be zoomed in on the action.
So these people. Are gonna have to watch live feeds constantly to make sure there's no horrific acts.
Yeah.
So they're all gonna have PTSD.
Well, so this is not the first time. Many companies already hire people, usually in the Philippines or these countries, to do these kinds of jobs. Like Google, Microsoft, they already have thousands and thousands of people that their job is just to watch the worst parts of the internet and flag and filter it. So Wired did a write-up of the industry back in 2014, and they were charting the effects that working an 8-hour shift, sifting through beheadings, animal abuse, and child pornography can have on the human mind. So lots of PTSD, a lot of issues of PTSD and people just having breakdowns doing this all day long.
Who can watch that all day?
I mean, you can put in a solid 4 hours, you're good.
Yeah, exactly. Although I used to work for the E! Network, and I had to watch 8 hours of Kardashians. So
you had it worse.
I had it much worse.
So I have another question for you here, Oscar. Do you live stream? Do you ever live stream? You ever Facebook Live or Periscope? Is that a thing people still do?
I don't think they Periscope. I think they all Instagram Live and Facebook Live.
Oh, the Facebook Live mainly, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think people care about me that much.
Did you ever think to maybe a new way to utilize your act, your comedy, your storytelling?
I thought about streaming stories. Online, but I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know. I feel like storytelling should be an in-person thing. You know what I mean? I like that idea, but that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy.
What about live streaming part? Oh, you said the no cameras at Tales from Tennessee.
Well, there's no Tales from Tennessee. I mean, I thought about putting my kids because my kids are fun to be around. But I think the thing about that live streaming stuff. I mean, have you guys watched a lot of people live stream?
I've seen some, yeah.
It's not very interesting. You know what I mean?
Very interesting.
That's why I don't watch.
It's more fun when someone's live streaming an event or something that they're at, not them just putzing around babbling about their day.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because you're the only one here with kids.
Yeah.
And so you said about how do you police the internet with your kids? Can you? Is that a thing that it's obviously we all need the internet. Your children are going to grow up literally needing the internet to get by with school and all this other stuff. But there are these dark corners of the internet. As a parent, what do you do about this?
Well, I mean, the hardest thing is that they're mostly interested in YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So there's only so much that I can do. I have a lot of parental blocks, and I'm pretty internet. I mean, my day job is internet stuff, so I'm pretty web savvy. But most of the stuff they watch is on internet. But I mean, something happened recently because my kids were watching. I don't know if you saw this picture, but I had to shave my kid's head. Did you?
I didn't see that.
Oh, that's right. My son, he's 11. He's autistic, so he's very sort of susceptible to stuff. But I came home and he had gotten into my beard trimmer because I'm manly and I have a goatee, and he had shaved like a shape in the back of his head, and then he shaved like right down the middle of his head. And I didn't know what was wrong because he'd never done it before. And like I was going to get him a haircut, but then I realized it was too much. I shaved the head. And afterwards, I was just like, oh, that's kind of a weird thing. Like, what happened? And then my daughter's like, oh, yeah, he was watching those videos on YouTube the other day. And I'm like, what? So the internet's been off on his computer for like 4 days now.
What was the video?
Just these kids, like parents filming their kids laughing at them playing with their shaved head.
Parents are the ones. Some of the things that parents do to their kids on the internet is just.
Well, they just took some kids away from a YouTuber.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But it's like,
I wasn't really familiar with their work, but it sounded pretty heinous.
I watched the videos because I watched like someone like because I was like, what the hell happened? And it made me want to put my kids on. I mean, I know part of my brand is the 4 kids and a dog stuff, but most of that's just the jokes. I mean, it's hard. Like again, it's hard for me to like for my kids. I mean, my kids aren't at the point where they want to be scripted. They're not. You know what I mean? So I can't do that.
It's one thing to talk about your kids, another one to completely involve them in your
against their when the problem is the children don't have any agency. And maybe when they get older, it's like, well, maybe I wish Dad hadn't put me when you type my name in. Maybe wish this didn't come up.
And I don't try to use my kid. I usually just say kid. I don't really talk about my. I try not to use my kids' names now. Not that I really care, but I'm just trying not to. I'm just trying to make it more of a blanket statement. Yeah. But again, I don't want to video. I will videotape them and we'll put skits together, like little tiny stuff. But for the most part, I really don't want to get them on video that way.
My friends, I have some friends that they don't put their pictures of their kids online at all. Like if you want to see what the kids look like, you got to go hang out with. You got to go see the kids. Like they're not there on the internet to entertain all of us.
I got to imagine though there should be a happy middle ground.
I have some friends that they'll post like one photo of their kids like every couple of years.
Like, I feel like if I had kids, I'd post photos of my kids. But I think there's difference between like posting photos and like making some exploitive video of my kid just came from the dentist.
Yeah, like or Jimmy Kimmel nonsense. Or those Jimmy Kimmel videos where they tell them like, tell the kids you ate all the Halloween candy and see what happens.
See, I do that to my kids because I think it's funny, but I don't videotape them.
Well, no, that's the thing. I mean, we all. I don't have kids, but we all would like. People mess around with their kids, but there's a difference between messing around with your kids.
It's psychological.
But I bet you there are people now like, I'll mess around with my kids and it'll go viral and we'll make millions.
See, I know it's not that. It's like we'll get on Ellen.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. Like when I came home and I noticed my kid had shaved his head, there was no thought about videotaping him. I was just like, I got to be a parent and take care of it. And that was in the post.
You have a sense of responsibility.
Yeah, because I was just like, I got to take care of this. And I went and I tried to deal with the hair. I'm like, I'll just shave it. And then afterwards, I'm like, I should take pictures. I'm like, it's not that important.
But
we'll do this again.
Yeah. We live in an age where we didn't grow up with this shit.
Oh, yeah.
And I bet you, like, people say in their 20s now who have kids or something like that, I bet you they will think first to take the video or take the picture because you
should have Snapchatted him with a dog's tongue in the ear.
That's going to be the thing. They're like, just like when shit is going down, like in the world, like in society.
Like right now.
I don't think I better get this on video. I either take it in or try to do something about it. Whereas I haven't hit that point where the mentality is like, I must tape everything.
Have you done the Snapchat filters with kids who are like too young to really process it, and they see the picture of themselves, and they're trying to? You see them like trying to touch their head because they see themselves with this crown on or like weird ears, and they start getting freaked out. And they start interrogating their head with their hands, and they can't figure out why they're seeing this thing on their head, but it's not there.
I think my kids are pretty thick. It's funny you said that. I think something happened to me pretty early on in the internet age. Before
you answered a Craigslist ad.
No. But that made me really think about it. I was at this. Me and my wife took me and I only had 2 kids. That's how long ago it was. I only had 2 kids, and we went to this farm and we lived in Vegas for a long time. Yeah. For 5 years, and we went to this farm, and I was just having a really good time at this farm. And there's not social media wasn't a thing. But I remember there was this lady there who was on the phone the entire time talking about what a great time she had. And her kid was like, Mommy, look at this. Mommy, look at that. She's like, oh, it's sweet. And she goes, anyways, I'm having such a great time. I'm like, you're not doing anything. You're not paying attention to your kid. Your kid's having fun. And you're on your phone telling your friend how much fun you're having, but you're not literally having fun. So
It's weird the way people. It's like when you go to a concert and there's like I'm just gonna hold up my phone
or the
I
iPad.
hate those people, and it's like let's just watch it. Like I'll maybe take one picture a concert. Like if I'm at a concert for like 3 hours, I have taken one picture just because, and it's usually shitty, and then I go back.
Why did I take that picture?
Yeah. But there are people who the whole time are just recording everything, and it's like you're never gonna watch that grainy video of Regina Spektor singing. The girl in front of me at the Regina Spektor concert. Moving on.
Speaking of live events,
Michael Moore, filmmaker, provocateur, baseball cap wearer, announced a one-man show opening in August on Broadway for 12 weeks called The Terms of My Surrender. He claims that each night it will be filled with different surprises, and he'll integrate current news, and he's not just going to talk for 90 minutes. He's even talked about, like, we're going to be by Trump Tower. Maybe we'll take the show to the streets or kind of thing. I like Michael Moore, and I think we need people, like, speaking out about, obviously, all the madness that's going on. However, there is part of me that hates that, like, money will be made because of the shit situation we're in about Trump. Comedy Central now has, like, the President Show, which is a half-hour talk show. Oscar, and he's like, it's like a Trump guy, like, interviewing people. Like, what the fuck? Are we hitting a wall with this Trump stuff? Because I can't deal with so much Trump in my entertainment anymore.
We should build a wall about that. We were just talking about. Oh my God! I just hit the microphone. I'm sorry.
I'll go home.
Oh, sorry.
Leave.
We were just talking about this earlier. Like there's too much. There's too much Trump, and people are profiting. I can't even listen to NPR anymore. I can't because I get too angry because every 3 minutes it's Trump's done this, Trump's done that, and it makes me too angry to like enjoy relaxing about.
Half my podcast diet has turned into like political stuff, and
I stopped listening to Trumpcast, which was a podcast that I really enjoyed, but it was all about how do we deal with the national emergency that is Donald Trump. And this podcast started over a year ago, well over a year ago. And they did not plan that they would have to keep going. And I just can't do it because I already listened to, like, other political things. And I basically can only listen to the Slate Political Gabfest and Maddow. And then that's, like, 2 hours of, like, Trump. And
you also watch a lot of cable news, too, though.
I do, but I'm watching, oddly enough, I am watching less of it. And then part of me worries, am I watching less of it because I'm getting complacent? No, I still keep track of what's going on. I'm exhausted. Like, I don't watch The Daily Show or any shows like that. The only, like, funny political show I watch on TV is I still watch John Oliver, and a good chunk of his show isn't necessarily always about Trump.
Yeah, but it's too much. There's too much. There's not only is it the news, like the day-to-day news, but all the comedy that we all enjoy is now overwhelmed with Trump because that's where people are going there for an escape.
The other funny thing is, and I'll say this particularly about network shows because they're a little less sophisticated,
and also they're on a longer time.
And they're on a longer time frame. Yeah. But they don't mind ham-fisting things in like a cable show might not. I watch very few network shows, but I watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And there's this storyline going on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now in which they're in this, like, mainframe and, like, Hydra's in control. And there's this resistance, and there are so many fucking Trump references. Like, there's so many nods to, like, fake news, like, or things that, I mean, Coulson's saying, like, we can't believe Hydra's alternative facts, like, things, like, direct lines from the Trump administration. And Designated Survivor, a show about a president, is doing the same thing. There's now this, like, and I don't know how much this villain was planned before Trump became president, but now there's this villain who has this, America. What's
America First? Make America Great Again?
Is that the Trump thing? Is Trump America First? Well, then his is another thing. It's like America Now, or it has some other thing that's basically an America First thing. And I'm like, And every time it comes on, it takes me out of the show just a little bit because I'm like,
Well, because Kiefer Sutherland's Canadian, he's playing the president.
Well, and that's it too. Like, I used to like political stuff, and I can't watch it. Like, I can't watch The West Wing anymore. Like, I can't. I was going through the whole thing right before he was elected. What's his name was elected, and then I started watching Designated Survivor, and I'm like, I can't watch.
See, I still watch it. I still keep up with the Daily Show. I still think I really like what Trevor Noah is doing. I think he's starting to find his groove. I listen to a lot more political. I'll listen to Pod Save America, the John, Love It or Leave It. So I tend to like a little bit of humor with my politics as well. So yeah, but it is getting to the point where I go, this is just like everything all day long is just Trump, Trump, Trump.
The late night talk show I watch, and I say this many times, I watch Conan, and Conan makes Trump jokes, but he's a little goofier with them. Like it's a little different.
Yeah.
It's a little different than even a Colbert who has like genuine like
anger
or
Seth Meyers,
well-deserved anger. But it's like I could fall asleep much more easily seeing Conan be a little goofy.
Yeah, and that's why I always enjoy Conan's brand of humor, because it's a little bit more where Colbert he gets angry. He said that thing about him. Yeah.
You know what's interesting? Up until though Trump, there are a lot of people in media who I might have assumed are liberal just because I assume every celebrity is liberal, even though that's not the case. But there are a lot of people like. But then when Trump became in office, you start to realize, even if they weren't, like, they're clearly against. Even Conan, you could tell by some of the jokes he makes, like, it's not as... Where before that, I would be like, I don't really know where Conan stands politically. Yeah. Now, I still don't really know, but I know he's not a fan of Trump. Like, You could still tell that. Am I wrong in being slightly annoyed that, like, people are, like... making money off of the fact this horrific person is our president?
I mean, everyone takes advantage of everything. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the apocalypse and the people selling water bottles for $10 a pop. It's the same process.
So that's Michael Moore.
Yeah, Michael Moore is just selling it, and he's like the go-to sort of political entertainment person.
But he is also like, he's probably going to bring up points I completely agree with. Yeah. So the other political thing I always watch is Bill Maher.
Yeah,
I watch Bill Maher religiously.
That's the only thing religious about Bill Maher.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, we're going to get a lot more of this Trump shit, or maybe not. Maybe he'll be impeached. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe by the time this thing comes out, North Korea will be in charge. So
there we go.
Well, if you were going to North Korea, you'd have to fly there.
Nice.
And there's an airline company, that's been in the news a lot lately, and not for anything good. It is United Airlines. First, if you remember a while back, probably about a month ago or so, they shamed some girl for wearing leggings. They're like, you can't wear those leggings. And it's like, she's a 13-year-old girl. Are we sexualizing her? What it is? It's creepy. And then, of course... when people took to Twitter angry about this, United doubled down on it. They're like, no, this is our policy. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Then they dragged a doctor, kicking and screaming. They beat a man. They knocked out his fucking teeth. And when people were like, nah, this is not good, United, they're like, this is our policy. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Fuck up all doctors.
But now what I'm about to tell you is worse than those incidents. This is straight up murder, because United Airlines has killed Simon the giant 3-foot celebrity rabbit. He died in a holding cell in Chicago, on a way to Chicago, after being kept in a basically a freezer. He was being held under the plane. He froze to death in 16-hour flight from London, where he was going en route to Iowa to start a new life with a new owner, and he died. You killed him, United. You killed Simon the Bunny. You froze him to death under your plane. Did you not know it was cold under the plane? You couldn't have given him a fucking blanket? What the fuck is wrong with you? How are you any different than Glenn Close, who boiled a bunny in Fatal Attraction? I'll tell you how, you're not. And that's why you, United Airlines, with this week's Enemy of the Podcast, go fuck yourselves. I am planning a potential trip coming up, and you know what? I'm afraid to fly with you because I might accidentally get stuck in a freezer on my trip across the Atlantic.
Good times.
Here's the thing. If they have the best rate, I'm going to fly with them.
So this weekend, I was talking with a friend of mine who's a flight attendant, has been for many years, for not United, but for another airline, and told me that it's just getting to the point where everyone sits on their planes like with their phones out, like ready to go, just waiting for shit to happen.
Well, this kind of shit happens on a lot of airlines. Yeah. It's kind of like United's, just like everybody does this.
Well, when the thing happened with the doctor, every social media manager for every major airlines was conspicuously quiet because they were all like, but for the grace of God, this could have been us. Yeah. This could have been American, this could have been Delta, this could have been any,
Why is all this bumping going on?
No, so my friend explained it to me. She said that they must have been a last minute thing with those 4. It wasn't an oversold flight, but it was just booked normal. But they had to get these 4 crew members because they had to get them to Louisville. There weren't a lot of flights going to Louisville from Chicago. They had to get them on the plane. She said it must have been a super last minute thing because otherwise they wouldn't have boarded the plane already. She goes, but really United screwed themselves up. She goes, she told me that sometimes she's had to fly other airlines, like if they need to deadhead her up to a different city because they need her there to crew, they'll pay like some super discounted rate and she'll fly on a different airline just for them to, because they need to get, that this shouldn't have happened the way it did. And she goes, also her understanding was that the doctor had agreed to take the money, but then decided to come back onto the plane, and then that's when things got out of hand. Because we don't have any footage of what happened before they started, beating him. But she goes, also, we are trained to call the police. Like, we're not in a...
we're not...
we're not trained to...
they're just doing their jobs, like the Nazis. Hey, your friend ever kill any rabbits on her?
No, not that she's aware of. She did not single-handedly kill a rabbit. My friend is a very nice person, works for a very nice airline, and says it is a very stressful job and people are terrible.
No, it's true, and I'm trying to be nice to people. But if someone's trying to get me off of a plane,
they give you money.
Good money.
Yeah, but they give you money.
No, I've been offered money. I was offered once. It was Christmas time. I was offered $500, and they would put me on a flight out of LAX in the morning. I was in Burbank, and they'll put me on in the morning, and they would pay to bring me to the airport for the flight. And I said no, because you know what? Once I'm at the airport, I just want to get to where I'm going. You would have to offer me a lot of money.
Well, they're offering up to $10,000 now.
If you offered me $10,000, I might wait for the next flight.
Yeah, you'd find a way to make it back, to get your bag and come home.
Do you do a lot of flying?
I have done some flying. I don't, I fly like once or twice a year.
Have you flown with the 4 kids?
No, God, no. No, I never take them all at once, ever.
And I said that knowing like that would be a horrific thing.
No, it is a nightmare to take them.
Well, I mean,
you need like 3 people.
I'm one of 4, and we used to, we had to go somewhere, and my parents just like, all right, just, just wrangle the kids, and never gets yelled at.
But you know what?
That's how it works.
I wouldn't put myself in a tiny tube with them for 5 hours.
But whenever I'm on a flight and they're like kids and I'm not. I mean, people get so upset. I get it. You gotta go. Sometimes you have to go somewhere. Yeah. Sometimes you have to go. Like, I hate these people who are like so much like these fucking kids. Well, where are the kids supposed to go? Now, I mean, also the parent shouldn't let the kid run up and down the aisle like a.
My dad was on an international flight, and this family, first class. The parents just took sleeping pills, and that was it. And they had the 2 rambunctious kids, and they were just like. Left them in the care of the stewardesses, the flight attendants, and the flight attendants didn't know what to do with these kids, so they had to commandeer them and have them help serve all the food, and the parents were just out for 10 hours.
Those are monsters. They should have given the kids sleep. I had a friend that was in the LA Phil, and they had kids, and they would travel every once in a while. And as soon as they got on the plane, they would get they'd get cough syrup, and they'd fall right asleep. See, that's the thing. Just before you're about to yell, well, I could see you. As a parent, I never want to travel with my kids in a public, with more than non-family members. I never want to do that. If I have to do it, I will. But people, I don't get. I mean, I was just talking about this today on Facebook. I remember taking red eye and being super excited to take a red eye because I get some sleep. I was going to Miami for work. a few years ago. But we got on the plane, and there are all these teenagers that were going for some sort of competition. And of course, a teenager flying all night means they're gonna stay up all night and party
and try to steal booze from the cart.
Yeah, and if everyone else was having like a terrible time because all the kids, I slept like a baby, because I've trained my body to ignore the cries of young people and
the cries of suffering youth.
Yeah, but I slept, but my seatmate was so angry she cursed out this kid in Spanish. I was sitting there because she kept getting up and down, up and down, up and down, and she's like, "How did you sleep the other night?" I'm like, "I got 4 kids." She's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I got it."
You know what they could have done? They could have put the kids under the plane with the fucking rabbits.
That would be your solution for everything.
That's a united solution.
But
for
Will, what if they
everything.
were flying to Japan?
Oh, thank you for the segue. Well, if they were flying to Japan, and I always like to end the show with some weird news.
All right.
And this from Japan, breaking news, there is a ninja shortage.
What?
They are running out of ninjas. Once hailed as master assassins and spies, the role of the ninja in modern Japan has become more of a performative gig. And with tourists flocking to see shows, they need more ninjas. They need more people with ninja skills. So the Hattori Hanzo Ninja Squad, named for the 16th century shogun and his most celebrated ninja supporters, say they need a boom of new ninja-themed attractions that they're creating, and they need more ninjas for these attractions.
So we should send the kids out there.
Well, so one ninja gig is paying up to $1,600 a month for a year of non-murderous work.
Oh, shit. Oscar, you gave me an idea.
Yeah.
Train your kids to be fucking ninjas.
I'm thinking about it right now.
That's different than exploiting them on YouTube. This is a practical skill they can learn, and then they could go out in the world. I live next to a tennis court, and I see a guy who, for the past 11 years while I've lived here, I've seen him scream at his daughter while he's been training her in tennis to become like the next Serena Williams. Guess what? If it hasn't happened already, it's not going to.
Nope.
But I've watched this man do this. There's no reason you can't do this with your kids to be ninjas. Send them to Japan. All of them are going to be making $1,600 a month. That's,
That's not a lot of money.
Nah.
But over 4 kids.
how much is that in yen?
Oh,
Well,
ooh, good
Japan's
point.
still an expensive country.
I would, you know what? We could all send them in the crates.
That's
in
it.
The crates on United over there.
Well, why don't you go? Why don't you become a ninja?
You're looking for a
You got it.
vacation. Yeah.
You're all full of your muscles are all lubricated and limber from those patty melts and those Rubens. All that grease is keeping you.
For a second, I'm like, where the hell is he going?
Yeah, grease is keeping you nice and
Interesting.
nice and flexible.
Going to trying to be a ninja. Remember we did that report once? Report, like we're the ones who broke the story. We did that story about how there was a movie theater hiring ninjas.
That's right.
There was a
Oh,
movie
yeah,
theater
yeah.
hiring ninjas to hide in the dark.
I think
during
this
the
was
movie.
my podcast. The last time I was here.
We knew you're a big ninja fan.
I didn't really
We're going to bring you back for all ninja news. But this...
Ninja News
they were
Network.
hiding in the darkness of the theaters. And if people broke out of silver, the ninjas appeared and told them to stop. That's my ninja army,
And
by the
guess
way.
how many free movies you'll be able to watch?
Oh, shit.
That's it.
Of course,
You're lucky to end up being like a Transformers: The Dark Knight. Like that's your movie.
Or The Nut Job. You watch The Nut
I
Job.
end up watching The Nut Job 18 times. as a
Terrible
ninja.
movie. Never watched that movie.
And on that note, Oscar, thank you so much for coming back to the show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me back.
One more time, where could everybody find out about Tales from Tinseltown and also about yourself?
Well, it's all centered at OscarComedy.com, which is the domain or the reason. The domain is the reason I was sued by the Motion Picture Academy. So go to OscarComedy.com or TalesFromTinseltown.com or follow me at Oscar Sagastume across social medias.
Sean.
You can find me at all forms of social media at the Sean David. Sorry, I was just checking on the status of my Miley Cyrus tweet.
Oh, yeah. You saw Miley Cyrus today.
Out in the wild, yeah.
Yeah.
And she looked and sounded just how you would assume Miley Cyrus to look and sound. And then she was there with, as I termed, a lesser Hemsworth. And the Miley Cyrus fans are not happy with me referring to Liam as a lesser Hemsworth.
Let me tell you what, the Miley Cyrus fans are idiots then because, of
He's no
course,
Thor.
Liam is the lesser Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth is fucking Thor. What do they think?
Yeah. No,
Let's be realistic about this.
Yeah.
We're not,
We're not shitting on him,
Yeah, he knows what he is.
There's listen, in these families, there's lesser Hemsworth, there's lesser Baldwins, there's lesser Arquettes.
There's a lot of lesser Baldwins.
He's not in the lesser Baldwin category.
No, he's not. Isn't there a third? There's a third Hemsworth.
Yeah.
And then there's also Skarsgårds. There's lesser Skarsgårds.
Isn't the third Hemsworth on Westworld? Am I making
Yes,
that
I
up?
think so. I think you're right, yeah.
I love that show so
That's
much.
good.
So
Yeah, I believe the third Hemsworth is on Westworld, and his storyline kind of very abruptly ended.
I don't remember anything about that show. I don't know. I remember
We'll
Dolores.
see where he comes back next season. When the hell is the next
Oh,
season?
that's
of
what
Westworld?
2018.
Yeah.
They had to actually figure out what the hell's going to happen in that show.
Yeah.
It's good. I don't need to come back anytime soon. I got enough on my plate. I got to watch Twin Peaks.
Catch up on the leftovers.
That's a whole different.
Love
yeah.
The Leftovers.
I love that show.
It's so good.
Don't tell me anything.
Where you at in it?
I'm not. I'm a couple episodes slow. So
Okay. He's a couple seasons slow.
Yeah.
you got to watch that show. That show
Yeah.
is terrible. You know what show I just started watching? I know we're wrapping up. Was The Americans. Have you ever seen
Oh,
The
it's so
Americans?
Oh, it's on tonight.
Oh, great.
How far into it are you?
I finally caught up.
Oh.
I'm caught up on.
This season's been a little.
Yeah, no, but I caught
But
up on
overall,
everything,
it's a
yeah.
great show.
My only question, finally get to be in around someone, is how do you spy with all that fucking? There's so much fucking in that
there's a lot
show.
of fucking.
Fucking is part of spying.
No,
my
I mean I
friend.
get that, but it's just like it's mostly sex. I'm like, are you gonna find out if the Americans have the germs or not?
Yeah.
Stop fucking him, Christ!
Anti-Chi.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and that yes, yeah.
You can follow me on Twitter at The Real Will Link. I'm going to be doing a junk show.
Okay.
David Huntsberger's junk show at the Copper Still on June 11th.
I'll
That's
be
a
out of town.
fun show. I didn't want you to come anyway.
Fine.
I'm not gonna go either.
Yeah, there you go. Fuck you both.
Bring the kids. Bring the dogs.
You know, I ran into Huntsberger after the show, your show, after
really?
Tales of Tinseltown. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that how you got booked?
Yeah, I mean, I'd done the show before, and I saw him, and I said, Huntsberger, I haven't seen you in a while. And he goes, I haven't seen you in a while. I said, I've been meaning to come back to your show. He's like, I've been meaning to book you again for my show. And then it happened.
It's beautiful.
Magic. I want 10% of that, by the way.
Also, I am working on doing something for Orphan Black.
I love that show as well.
As everyone knows, I, for the last 3 years, have hosted an Orphan Black recap show.
Of course, we all know that. Yeah.
And for 3 years, we keep getting
Orphaned.
I keep getting thrown off of networks, or networks keep going under.
Is it the network or is it you?
One, it was the network, and the other one, the network went under. So it's always been the network.
Okay.
I would have stayed at any of these places. So now, with my time stretched thinner than ever, I have to figure out what to do for the last season of Orphan Black. I am debating not doing a podcast, but doing a weekly YouTube thing with Megan Salinas. I think that might be a little less work. So
Last work is always better.
yeah, but people will still get to hear my Orphan Black thoughts. Maybe I'll take to Twitter and ask the people.
I think it's what you should do. Mm-hmm. Reach out to all your 14-year-old Orphan Black fans that follow you on Twitter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of teenage lesbians who follow me on Twitter because of Orphan Black.
And on that note,
Oscar, thank you so much.
oh, next week on the show.
Oh, shut up! Nick Watson.
Nick.
Do you know?
No.
Oh.
No, I was just hoping you wouldn't say
He co-hosts a podcast called Paper Team about, he's a television writer, and their podcast is all about television writing and the art and the craft and the business of it. So we'll talk with him next week. And then the week after that.
After that, you do know this person, Maria Howe.
Oh, yeah.
You had her on your show.
She's fantastic.
And now we're having her on our show.
Yeah.
She was in Hidden Figures?
She was in Hidden Figures. She's the teacher at the beginning of Hidden Figures who sets little Catherine out on her journey, I guess.
You know, what's funny is that Megan and I are going to host. She's going to do it. She's a very accomplished singer. She's a beautiful voice, but she's going to do a night, and Megan and I are going to host the night of her doing music.
Awesome.
Do you know when that's going to be?
No, we're just trying to finalize it.
Let me know. I'll be there.
All right.
Unless I'm overseas being a ninja.
Yeah.
And now that we've gotten all that out of the way, Oscar, thank you so much for the Will Sean Podcast. I'm Sean David.
And we're like,
We're finished.
we're finished.